And neither did Love Match Atlanta. I had
No,
those
I
people on. They
know.
were very sweet.
Yeah. I like the idea of Love Match Atlanta.
I like the idea of Girlfriends in Paris. I love me some Emily in Paris.
Yeah. Oh, me
It
too.
was a great show.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't watch the show, and I kept on asking my audience if I should get into it, and they were like, no. And so I was just like, do I really want to get into it?
So are people then going to say the same thing about RHONY, or because it's Housewives, they're going to start
It's
watching?
different because there's already a core fan base for RHONY and also for Real Housewives in general. So there will be people that will give it a shot, and there will still be people like, even though they're not sure about it, they're still going to give it a shot.
And you think it's going to be good? You think it's going to show?
I don't know if it's going to be good. I'm just excited to see what it could be.
Yeah.
Because it's starting fresh, a part of a legacy already. So it would be interesting, especially because New York is one of the housewives already. So
Yes.
that's a big part. And it's a different energy. Younger women, very different careers that we're dealing with here. A little bit more diverse, from religion to color. So I'm like, okay.
First Indian Real Housewife.
Yeah. And it's 2023, and this has been around for almost 20 years. So I'm interested, but once I watch it, then we'll see. You never know.
I really think, to me, it needs to be like Sex in the City. Like, you need to make New York a housewife. Like, you need to capture that. If everyone says, it's because of COVID, well, I guess people say season 13 failed of RHONY for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
But many of which I don't agree with. Like, I want to see cabs and benefits, and like, you want to see the upscale New York, but the not upscale. You want to just see it all. Like, you got to make New York a character.
I want them to take chances with this because this is a new thing that they've never done before with the city. So take some chances, take some production chances, take some editing chances, do things a little bit differently. Very much like what they did on Real Housewives of Dubai. Get us full confessionals. Trust and believe, producers are watching conversations like the ones that we're having.
Oh, full confessionals. I didn't even think.
So give us...
That's what they did, right? What do you mean, like the full
body,
look? I like this.
So kind of
you notice these things. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, but give us something different. Give us something different from, not just from the confessionals, but from the experience, maybe breaking the fourth wall a little bit more. People are over, this, you can't say Bravo, you can't say... No, because the biggest housewife a part of these shows is really the show.
Yeah.
And these fights are over the show.
Yes. I love when they acknowledge this was said on social media, or I hate when they're like, well, when you were in New York, you were at the fucking reunion. Just say, like, we were at the reunion last year.
I feel like they're saying that now.
They're starting to.
Yeah. So I want them to do a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
they're like, when we were in New York, I'm like, you were in New York standing next to Andy Cohen. Just break the fourth wall and say it, right?
And they did something similar on, I don't know if you watched this because a lot of people didn't watch it, Real Friends of WeHo.
So it's funny. I was just going to bring that up. So I watched it for many reasons. First of all, thank you MTV. So they were a sponsor of our show during the time that they were on. Mm-hmm. And then I also just interviewed, it's not out yet. I just interviewed Joey Zauzig. They were like, but we can speak freely of the show. So, I mean, being half in New York and half in LA, not that I live in Hollywood. I don't live in WeHo, but I'm right there. They
also don't live in WeHo.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, listen, I was going to bring that show up anyway. You could say whatever you want. I'm just kidding. They really were a sponsor of our show, but now it's over and the check is cleared, so you can say anything you want. It was obviously nobody really watched.
And which is sad because I did.
Did you like it?
I liked it. And I liked the way that they were breaking that fourth wall.
Love
and
that.
I love that, our community is being represented there and in such a way that we don't see on television. And when I interviewed Love Match Atlanta, I was talking with Lamont about how they wanted him to be depicted on that show. So I was kind of glad. I was like, we're all not, flamboyant. We're all not, wearing wigs. Of course, we're getting that on this show, but we're also getting stories like Curtis on there, and he's
think
the best part.
By far.
To
me, he was the most authentic.
Yeah.
I mean, he's also really easy on the eyes, but that's a whole nother conversation.
And his brother.
And the brother. But, I mean, yeah. I look at, because, like, it went down to 150, and then the last week it had 130,000 people watch. Yeah. I mean, that's about as bad as it gets.
I think their misstep was the Todrick casting.
You do.
Even though Todrick, for me, wasn't as unbearable as people probably were going to assume that he was going to be. Actually, he added certain elements. I was like, oh, I'm glad he said that. I'm glad he did that. I'm glad he shared that.
Unbearable.
Surprisingly, because I never really followed Dorian because he's been on reality TV before.
Has he? What has he been on?
College Hill, and then he was on
Oh.
something else after that. I can't recall. And of course, he has this really successful, skincare line, Butter. But he, for me, was definitely the most unlikable of the cast.
I could agree with that.
And I just felt like, I know you felt as if you signed up for something different, but we're seeing a side of you that's just like, why do you feel like you're better than anyone here?
I don't know what he felt he signed up for though.
He thought this was going to be A-list. What was it, Los Angeles or something? A-list, something like that.
Show?
Yeah. So he thought.
But wasn't this kind of the same thing?
Yeah, it was just called something different. He thought it was going to be on Paramount Plus and not MTV.
I mean, are these even? Does this even matter? Like.
And he also made it seem as if they outed him as being gay. And he's like, no one defines my sexuality, which they don't.
I saw that. He didn't want to talk about sex.
Yeah. I'm like, but all that to the side. For me, his behavior on the show, just the way he came around these guys, like he was better. James surprised me, last week on, with his behavior. I was just like, James, wow, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, he wasn't my favorite. I mean, it was Curtis really. I don't know. There was something really authentic about him.
Yeah. I'm glad he was cast.
More than any of the others. Todrick, to me, wasn't as bad either as I mean, he wasn't so offensive, Todrick. It just.
Not on this show.
Yeah, not on this show. It wasn't. Listen, I mean, it's not their fault that Drag Race is cut. Yeah. And it's like.
But Drag Race is returning to its 90 minutes after it ends.
Yeah, so. I mean, I didn't really think it was as bad as everybody says. I mean, I've interviewed Brad and Gary separately. I'm shocked Gary even was in the scenes he was in.
Yeah.
Because he's okay to never be on reality TV ever.
But I loved seeing
Brad,
do
it for your husband. Yeah.
I think Brad was really authentic as well and funny and sort of like the mother hen of the group.
Yeah.
I really liked seeing Brad and also seeing their relationship represented on the show because, a lot of people look at gay relationships as, flighty. And, no, there are long-term relationships that aren't, polyamorous either. And so
Joey's engaged, so.
I like Joey's scene this past week where, he was with Brian. Yeah, with the parents. The father's going to be the best man. I was like, I liked seeing this. It's been interesting. And look, I've watched a lot of television, Portia's Family of Lies, that was not as entertaining.
No.
Because that they were faking it.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I don't think it's going to, I assume it's not getting a second season with these ratings. I mean, it's like, I almost understood the opposition in WeHo more than the rest of the world. Like people in WeHo are like, well, this isn't really, but I don't really think they were trying for people that were already somewhat well known with some presence.
Yeah.
So I understand, but like, what does that have to do with the rest of the world anyway? Because the rest of the world doesn't know really like what, I don't know. It was weird. It was weird. And Dorian also was going to come on this